Hey everyone, welcome again to another edition of the Tellor Community Call. It's December 28th. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. And I hope everybody's excited for the new year. We certainly are. And so we thought we would this was like a perfect day to do a year in review. Every year since Tellor has existed, we've done a year in review article, and we're going to put one out. Ryan, I think that's when are we pushing that out today, or
Yeah,
have we decided? It's
we'll get it
okay.
out today.
Cool. So yeah, we're going to publish that today, and but I thought it'd be good to just sort of use this community call as a means to sort of reminisce about 2021 and kind of go over the content that's in the article, really, but just like a more of a informal, in-person Zoom version of the article that we're pushing out. So, um, I guess we could just kick it off, and then afterwards, we have some questions. So stick around to the end if you're interested in hearing your question answered, or you just like listening to the questions in general. We have about 7 of them, I think. All right, so 2021. We gotta rewind back because a lot happened in 2021, and we've been thinking of it as like a quite a roller coaster ride for Tellor, for the team. It's almost hard to imagine because Tellor was so different in early 2021. The team was much smaller. Um, so I think our team was we did our first hires in 2020. We brought on Tally and Ryan. We had JG who left, but we had JG and Crossy for a while. Who and JG and Crossy are no longer on the team, but they were with us for a good chunk of 2020 and into 2021 as well. So the team looked a lot different. I just recently looked back at our year in review from 2020 and looked at sort of like usually the last paragraph we talk about like, okay, so what are we looking forward to in 2021 or in the next year, just to see like how we did. um, and I think I'll touch on that as we sort of dive in, but I think a good format is to sort of let's start with sort of the very beginning, of course, quarter one. We'll just look at it in terms of quarters. And I think quarter one was really like rounding out 2020, hitting the ground running. We had a number of things in the works. One of them was our first vertical product, uh, which was Chorus. And if you looked at like what we were saying we were going to do in 2021, one of the things that we really wanted to start doing is exploring the idea of building our own users, our own vertical products. And we had this thing that we've been tinkering around with, Nick's little economic brainchild, Chorus protocol, which is a open source community currency protocol. Um, I don't even know if the website's still up. Chorus.teller.io is still up. You guys can check it out. Who haven't been here that long. We're still really proud of Chorus. Um, it just we learned a lot of things. One was it doesn't matter like how much we liked this thing. Um, there just we couldn't there was two things. We didn't immediately find users for it. Like it wasn't just like a smash success. And that could be we just didn't have the marketing budget for it or just the biz dev budget for it. And I think ultimately what we learned from that is that um, in order to keep the Tellor team focused and the right size and all that stuff, what do I want to say here? We would have had to expand quite a bit and like almost create a separate team for chorus and really push that. And it was like ultimately a big distraction to what we were actually really trying to focus on and prioritize with Tellor. So it didn't like come super easy where we could just like launch. We got a cool idea. We launch a white paper and a website, build you know a beta version of it, and just get it out there, and it'll just go. Like it wasn't that easy, and so that's kind of where it hung. It just kind of stayed there, um, and ultimately we just decided to not no longer prioritize it. It's all published online. It's there. We can revisit it, but it was a good learning experience for us, and I think maybe our vision of like maybe doing a lot more of that in 2021 didn't pan out, but I think it didn't pan out because we decided it was actually not the right priority for Tellor, because we had bigger fish to fry. We wanted to get, Tellor was still, and it still is, a unfinished product. Like we needed to build Tellerx. We needed to get more users. We needed to get our first users. So, that was the tale of Chorus. What else, Ryan? What else happened in quarter one?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of expand on the course thing, I think we built that in like the reason we built like a kind of a bare skeleton structure was because we knew it was an ambitious project right off the bat. So we wanted to get that out and get that in the open. And then obviously we had ETH Denver, which was a huge event, but it was virtual, which was kind of it was my first ETH Denver, but it's a huge event for the Ethereum space in general. So that took a big chunk of quarter one, just getting that virtual booth up and running, and then making sure that we were utilizing that metaverse wisely.
Yeah, actually thinking of where things ended up, like now with the metaverse being even a coined term. It wasn't a thing back then,
Yeah,
but it was like a metaverse for a virtual conference.
this was like
It
the
was,
early rumblings of like NFT, everything that
yes,
like exploded this year was
yeah,
essentially Denver was kind of like the ground zero for all that.
yeah. It was that was our first big conference. It was East Denver's our favorite conference, other than like DevCon, which who knows when we'll have another DevCon. Um, Teller's never had a DevCon. It's always been like right. Well, it's Japan anyway. Um, so yeah, Teller did have a DevCon. We were in Japan for that, but it was really really early, so it almost doesn't count because we were like nobodies. Um, anyway, East Denver is our a lot of people on the team's favorite, and just the community in general. It's like the most fun, has the most charisma. Um, Denver's a cool place. They always do something cool, and then for them to like announce that because of COVID it was going to be virtual, it was such a bummer because we really wanted to like, we felt like we were finally ready. Remember, Ryan, like we were talking about, like we feel like we're ready. It's fun. It's so funny because we so weren't ready, but at the time we felt like we were ready to sort of arrive on the scene, and we wanted to sponsor a conference and meet our peers and meet users and do all that stuff. And then boom, it's like, sorry, it's going to be on a video game now.
Right.
Like have fun. And we ran through a demo of what it looked like, and it was just like one of those things where you're like, cool, this could be great. And then when we got off the call with them, we were like, man, this is like way overly ambitious, and I don't see them pulling it off at all. Like it's going to be like a gimmick. It might, it might not work. Like who knows how this is going to be? Like we don't even know if we're going to get any value out of it. But we were like pot committed and optimistic, and so um, I don't know. But Ryan, what would
I
you
think it
say?
turned
I
out
mean,
great. I mean, they definitely were dealing with the cards they were dealt, and I thought of all the like the virtual conferences, it definitely added that extra element besides just being a Zoom conference. And I thought we made a lot of good connections there. we had our Name That Tune event, which was a big hit. And just being able to kind of jump around uh, in that in the metaverse, I had a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. It turned out to be, I thought, really great, and I think it was huge success for what they were trying to do. It was the most fun I ever had in a virtual conference since they started doing them in early COVID, and yeah, it was great. That contest we did was a big success. A ton of people came. We posted pictures on Twitter, and we're going to post some in the article for you guys that are maybe can't picture what we're talking about. But it was a ton of fun, and it was a chance for us to show our character as a team. We was like a growing team at that point, but we wanted to establish ourselves, and we're hoping to do that in person. We're going to do that in person this ETH Denver, which is in a couple months, but really get a chance to share with the world that the approachability of our team, from a developer standpoint to pretty much to a user integration standpoint to a marketing standpoint, just in general, like our team. And hopefully you guys feel the same way with how we do these Zoom calls and how we are in our Discord. But we think that we're an approachable team that people like to work with, and that's like another aspect to getting users that isn't talked about much. There's like, are you a technical fit for that product? But also, ultimately, do you like working with that product? Do you like the people there? There's the human connection, like and it makes a huge difference. People don't always recognize it when it's happening, but anyway, it's one of our strong suits that we still haven't really got a chance to flex. So hopefully we get a chance to do that in 22. That's so weird even saying that. Yeah, so that was okay. So we're still in quarter one. A lot of things happen in quarter one, it seems. Maybe it just feels that way because we had a pretty large bump in the road that happened at the end of the quarter. Well, it wasn't really. Yeah, it was on February 15th. So
Smack dab in the middle.
yeah. Well, I think just quarter one is April, or quarter two begins in April.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So February 15th, we suffered a major setback during like a relatively routine upgrade. It was V2.6.1. We wrote a whole breakdown, a postmortem that we published, and we'll share that with you guys for those of you who are curious. If you guys want to like relive that, so we don't need to like super rehash it. All you guys need to know, the cliff notes, is that we froze the Tellor contract, the actual contract that has the token, meaning the network was frozen basically, and so we had to fork. Is the only way to fix it was to essentially fork, launch a new Tellor contract, and start migrating over everybody. And so like this all happened, like when we do these upgrades, we're usually, some of us are on a Zoom call together, and it's pretty routine, but we sort of just we know we have to be careful, and we have a process. That process was greatly improved after this happened for obvious reasons, but we had a process before to make sure things went smoothly. But things are crazy in crypto, as anybody can tell you. And a mistake was made that was really costly, but like it was just so sudden when these things happen. It's like it's not broken 1 minute, then a transaction goes through, and it is, and then it's like, how do you process what's happening in front of you as live? It was just an interesting experience to see how our team sort of handled the sort of things going nuclear, and it was ultimately really positive, because within a week's time We had, we assessed, like we we had the initial reaction to what happened, then we sat and like accepted it. It was like going through all the emotions of grief or whatever it is. But like we got quickly snapped out of it, got a plan together, got the team to rally, and it was just something that we look back at as something we're really, really proud of. It's annoying that it happened. We're on the other side of it now. Like we got away relatively unscathed. You know, no one really lost any tokens, and we had to spend a lot of money on gas and stuff, and we had to go through this crazy migration process that Ryan, you were a big part of as well, but everybody was a big part of on the team. It kind of took all hands on deck, because you can imagine. So everybody who was a TRB token holder like had to run a transaction to essentially claim their new Teller tokens in an exact one-to-one ratio. So this is a process that they had to manually do. And there's a process that the exchanges all had to manually do, which was the bulk of the supply. So just like having to like do the customer service part of that, like people are still emailing. Ryan, didn't someone email you today?
Yep.
They were on Uniswap or something.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're trickling in slowly, like people that like maybe said it and forget it, and forgot they had the TRB tokens, and now they're like remembering it, and so we're taking care of them. But for the pretty much the whole leading into quarter two, it was like all hands on deck about getting these exchanges to migrate all their supply over. Getting Binance was a big deal because they had a huge chunk. We felt really good once like 80% of the supply is now on the new TRB token. People can trade it. People can buy and sell it again. We're like, okay, now we just got to deal with like some of these individuals, these people on Uniswap, and all that other stuff. And slowly we sort of dug out of the shadow of all that. But it took months, and we're still doing it. And yeah, now we almost, I don't want to say we forgot it, but like I said, we learned a lot. We did a quick job of like capturing that knowledge, that new learned knowledge, and like implementing new process changes. And then we said we got to put it behind us, and we got to focus on everything we set out to do in 2021 was get users and start working on Tellerx. And so I think that leads us into Liquidity. Ryan, this was one of the first users this was the first user, but you were involved in this process early on.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I think that our response was a big takeaway for me. Just the fact that it was such a, it was a big thing that happened for the protocol itself, and just how the dev team responded. Shout out to JG and Cross for going through that with us. And then the community too, for being so patient with us and having that kind of trust that we were going to be able to get out of that. And then having even Liquidity was in the process of implementing us during this time, and they had the full faith that we'd be able to, make sure that everything was going to be fine. So there was really no issue during that process of getting us implemented, and then having them launch with us was like a huge kind of coming out of that that dust storm of like, we're still here, everything's moving forward, and here's an actual user announcement to show for it.
Yeah, it was huge to sort of put it behind you by having a very tangible demonstration that everything's okay. And there's not a better way to do that than to have somebody outside of Tellor come in, trust us enough to implement us. And
And the type
especially
of
Liquidity is like an
yeah.
they're an immutable project. So like they really needed to vet their choice for their fallback oracle. And we had been talking with them since December of 2020. And then they launched in April with us. They launched Yeah, they launched in April with us as their fallback oracle at the end of April. So you can see like how long sometimes these processes can be. Ample was way longer. We'll talk about that. But uh, yeah, it was huge to be able to like. It was one of the first thoughts we had too. Was like, "Ugh, are we going to lose Liquidity? Because we were like this close to our first user, and we're like, they might get turned off by this whole process, but they weren't. They saw exactly. They knew. I think that they knew that they might be just around the corner for something. They might be going through a similar event themselves,
Right.
because I know that they were really worried when they were going to launch this like immutable contract of Liquidity, that like it could all just break and then you'd have to fork it, like so they were sensitive to that, and they were super gracious and understanding, and they were curious, and we explained to them what happened. They totally got it, and they were like, "This is really cool. Congrats on like you know rising again." Um, and ultimately, they were still very happy with what we did and how it was going to work for them, and that was it. And they launched. We didn't know it was going to become of them, but I think that we're really proud of them for not just like fizzling away. Um, so we're really happy that we are part of their protocol. Um,
I think also in general, like in this ecosystem, a lot of people are looking for those kind of battle tested events, because you can say your code is indestructible and very secure and all that, but it's not until you go through moments like that where it's just the Moloch of crypto and code kind of coming together in perfect storm. Seeing how you come out of those things is, I think, a huge testament to the overall perception of your project.
yep. I know we've sort of taken up a lot of time talking about that event. And I think that, but at this point in 2021, it was a total
Right.
shift in sort of, became like a refreshing part of the year where we had our first user. Now we can move on to all the things that we finally wanted to get working on. At the end of 2020, we said like we envision it's going to be a multi-chain ecosystem going forward. So we're going to have to adapt to that. And so we're going to be looking into, excuse me, layer two solutions, getting on Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, and all this other stuff that we were looking at the time. Binance Smart Chain was like the new in thing at the time, and obviously Polygon was establishing itself really early, and we had a relationship with them. But anyway, so we worked on something called the Fellowship, which is kind of like it's a layer two solution that's kind of like a stopgap solution. It's a bit of a centralized version of Tellor that allows us to service projects over on Polygon as we. It's kind of like a beta almost, in a way that as we sort of figure out a better, more decentralized way to sort of handle those things, and which is ultimately just sort of like to jump way ahead is kind of what eventually led us to Teller Flex, is what we're working on now. But you have to start somewhere, and we were tinkering around with some ideas, and the Fellowship was one structure that we experimented with, and we learned a lot from for layer two stuff. Um, and so around this time, we really started to get busy with developing that, and getting a couple users to test that out. And but I'll just sort of leave that part there, because that story is yet to be written when it comes to really achieving that. We're still working on it with Tellerflex. I think we could start to talk about the hackathons that we started to do at this point as well. Um, we we of course continued. I think our strategy in 2020 was to sponsor these hackathons. We continued that. ETH Denver, we did one with ETH Global, scaling Ethereum and Hack. Actually, it was two of them in this quarter, scaling Ethereum and Hack Money. Um, and those have always been. I mean, there's really not much to say about them. They're kind of like this bread and butter thing that we do, and we try to do one a month if they are, or like a couple a quarter or something like that, depending on what's out there. And we're going to continue to do that in 2022, probably just in a bigger way. Um, Around this time, we started to do we did a partnership or sponsorship with a company called Mousebelt that did the Reimagine campaign with us, or for themselves, that we were sponsoring, and that was I think a really great success as well. I don't know what you think, Ryan, or anybody else who remembers these, but we did a number of panels, and I think what I liked about what I'll say about the Reimagine stuff. Other, I didn't really think that the interviews that we did, that was just like the early stuff we did with Reimagine was like an interview with Brenda or an interview with Nick or whatever, and those are great. But what I really liked was when we got a chance to host our own panel in a way, or be on a panel that we sort of helped organize, was that we got a chance to go out to peers in the space and offer them a chance to be on a panel that we arrange. That is, this is something that's like, everybody wants to do this. They want to have the marketing opportunities to share about their project, and they want to get out there and establish thought leadership and all that stuff with us. And it was just nice to be able to like go out there and say, hey, to the CEO of Liquidity, and to the CEO of Ampleforth, and to whoever else we had on, I forget, but, and say like, hey, would you join us on a panel? And I just remember feeling like it was nice to be able to do that, especially with Liquidity, who just partnered with us. Kind of, we're offering them like a little bit of a bonus that they're, they trusted us. We're gonna like hook them up with some stuff. And then also with Ampleforth, we were still like really in the middle fledgling stage of the integration. It was nice to sort of be able to offer them the opportunity as well. I don't know if you have a different take on that stuff, Ryan.
Oh, yeah. I think it allowed us to kind of explore go beyond the limits that we feel like just typical marketing does. Mousebell was a great resource for kind of doing things out of the box, or outside of the box, in terms of how we were marketing ourselves, and also being a good resource for their like the graphics and stuff, that we didn't have an in-house motion graphics department. So they were really good outlet for that. And then also like you said, the discussion panels, I think that's kind of our bread and butter, is being able to have those thoughtful discussions, and not only doing it in like to ourselves, like an echo chamber, to do it with other thought leaders in the space. I thought was a really nice touch in allowing us to kind of get our name out there, but not do it in that two-dimensional, we are Tellor, listen to us talk about ourselves kind of.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I think this is when we started to expand the team a little bit more as well, around this time, early summer, spring. We brought Spuddy on. He was not here, but you guys all know him. We sort of drug him out of the community, out of the minor channel on Telegram, and offered him a more official role, and he's grown quite a bit. And as well, speaking of growing quite a bit, our resident giant, Tally the Teller intern, became no longer the intern, and switched to a full-time dev role for us around this time. And then we also, Tim, I think this is around when you joined. Tim, I think you're on Skull. I was gonna ask you for.
Yeah, I joined around April, I think.
Yeah.
Around then.
Yeah, and you were part-time at first, right?
Yeah, I did.
Because you were still finishing up with Raid Guild.
Right. Yeah, I did a couple months of part time, and then sometime in the summer switched over to full time. Uh,
Yeah, it feels like a million years, but it
yeah, it
hasn't yet.
does. Yeah, I've worked like a little less than a year. Yeah, it just seems
Yeah,
like that was so long ago. A lot has happened since I started.
yeah. Crypto time is like it's like dog years,
Yeah,
you know. Just so much is condensed in such a short period of time. It's actually uh, look, it's 12:35 right now, and we're just getting started on quarter three. Like I'm like, what the heck? I was like, oh, this will be a 30-minute call. I'm like, man, there's just so much that pops up, and this is just the cliff notes for you guys. But so moving on to quarter three, Brian, what was the big theme of quarter three?
I think it was buckling down with Tellerx, getting that sent off for audit, and then also ECC was a huge event for us. I mean, I think it was my first in-person event outside of Miami Bitcoin, which wasn't really very but
Oh yeah, we should have given a whole paragraph to. No, I'm just kidding.
no, but
Anyway,
yeah, it was great to be in real life event. Also being with some of the Teller team, we had a really good bonding experience, and just being out there together was really awesome. And also being in the company of like just the creme de la creme of the Ethereum community was really awesome, intriguing.
we also in quarter three, we at the end of quarter three, I think, if I recall, we removed the admin key again,
Yeah.
which we had to put back in, um, which we chose to put back in for the initial period right after the fork and the migration because we it was just such an unknown. And we had removed it prior in like the October of 2020. We removed it, and it was great. But we decided to like have that safety blanket in for a couple months as we sort of settled with everything, and then once we felt comfortable again, and this did happen in August, we removed the admin key again and started to go back to that DAO-like structure we were moving towards. And so that was a huge deal, um, to
Yeah.
us
It felt
personally.
wrong. It felt wrong to have the admin key in our pocket.
Yeah, because you can't. If you have an admin key, how much can you really say you're the most decentralized Oracle out there? Like you just can't. Uh, but they are when you need them, boy, they're valuable. Like you
Yeah.
appreciate having one when you have one, you know, because it gives you some levers to pull, But ultimately, not the goal here. It's so you guys can be the community. Everybody's pulling all the levers, not us. And I think we're well on our way. We also added more people here. Lauren, Josh, Owen, Sean. You started uh, around in Q3 at some point, June, I think it was. Um, so yeah, we had like a huge influx of new blood. Mike Bapst as well, in quarter three. So like we just expanded massively. Um, that's a lot of new blood to have join a team. Um, and that can not always go well. That could change the culture of the team, or things could not work out. Um, it could be just a headache in terms of like management. You know, going from a team of three people that are they're just sort of like individually managing themselves to now you have it's not like you just have like Tally and Ryan that are also just doing their business, So like now you have like you're running meetings daily and you're checking in with people and there's like 5, 6 people to keep track of and to just support. This is not something that like the founders. Brenda had was the only person really on the team that had a ton of experience with management and having people work under her, so she's great at it. But Nick and I, was like a big learning experience for us. But it was great to see, we going into Q4 and sort of we're coming into the runway here, the final stretch here. We decided that we wanted to hold a Teller week because we knew that like this team had grown really big, and we liked everybody initially, of course, and we were like, well, maybe the thing we could do is right out the gate, we could invite them all to come in person, and we could do like a bonding week. It was really more like 3 days, but we called it Teller Week, and we had everybody come to our office in Maryland and stay in the area, and work from the office for 3 days, and we had dinners and some activities planned, and we played some games in the office, but I don't know, would you guys say it was felt like a actual work days for those 3 days? That was the intention, is actually get work done. I don't know what your experience was, but anyway, does anybody want to share about how, thinking back to Teller Week and what it was like?
It was great to just meet everyone in person, because up to
Yeah.
that point it was all over, Discord, Telegram, Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely
It was
get,
awesome to just see people and get work done. I mean, we were all in the office together, which was cool.
there's those intangibles that you don't really get through Discord and Zoom. And I think I felt like I got a lot of those with the people that I was only getting Zoom and Discord from. I mean, Mike, I'd been to the office a couple times before that, but so with you guys, it was fine. But Sean, Owen, Lauren, especially you guys are brand new, so I barely interacted with you much at all before that. So that was a really good time and really productive.
Yeah. It's kind of like bittersweet because it was just like, man, I wish we could do this more often. Having everybody there and doing presentations where like everybody could be in sync and aligned on things, something that is we're good at doing it virtually, but you just can't recreate it in Discord. But anyway, it was a blast. You guys were awesome, and yeah, I totally agree. It was just cool to meet some of you guys in person, and it was cool to see you guys bond. Like we were trying to like also allow you guys to form your own little friendships and teams and things as well, and that's more important, I think, for us than it was like, can we establish a better relationship with you guys, because we have to be a little bit separate in some way. I don't know, maybe I'm making that up. Let's see here. I think the big thing, the next big thing was the Ampleforth. I mean, that was such a huge thing. It's hard to think of it as like a Q4 thing of 2021.
Yeah.
But we finally got Ampleforth over the line as another user, and that was like 2 years in the making. So, but we finally did it. We finally got over the line. You could say they finally did it, but it was like a huge effort on our part as well, because this is recent news, so we don't have to like super rehash it, but we had to really go into their community and sort of win them over and do a lot of communication over there. And we had Zoom calls with people. We had a ton of back and forth in the Discord, and it was and we had been doing a little bit of that as well along the way, but it was always it was never met. It was met like very critically for a long time, and I was really proud of I'm just going to call it Spuddy and Mike Baps. So you guys were like, I feel like very active early on in that Discord, and we're like feeling the brunt of it, but we all sort of did a good job. And yeah, so they finally got to the point where they were ready for their first decentralized proposal, governance proposal thing. We were the first proposal in their new governance format, and it ultimately passed. It was a long time coming, like I said, but it was great. We love those guys. We love their community. They're a great project. They have the same ethos as we do, and unlike Liquidity, not Liquidity the project, but Liquidity the integration with Tellor. The difference for us in this case was with Liquidity we love being a fallback oracle, and we think we're a great case for fallbacks. And I think when the rubber meets the road, the fact that you have to rely on Tellor to like swoop in and save the day is a great thing to be proud of. But it was cool to see Tellor be on a much more even playing field with Chainlink in this case, because so Liquidity uses Chainlink and then backs up to Tellor. Ampleforth was using an average of a centralized oracle and Chainlink and Ampleforth oracle, and then Tellor came in and it was a median. So we were all on equal footing with Chainlink for the first time in a user's mind, in a user integration perspective, and we were that's why that was a really big deal for us. Yeah. What else happened in the end of Q4?
We launched Tellerx.
Yeah. So obviously this whole time behind the scenes of all this stuff is the devs were really focused on Tellerx. Tim, I don't know, because since you're a huge part of that, like, I don't know if you want to give, like, without going on and on, well, do what you want, but is there anything you want to say about, like, the whole of Tellerx development? Like, summarize, like, what looking back on it, I don't know if you can summarize, but do you want to take a shot?
Yeah, trying to think.
It's not easy.
I mean, yeah, I could go over just like I remember like the timeline briefly. Yeah, it was really cool to see the whole thing from start to finish. When it started off with weekly whiteboards we did for a couple of weeks, breaking it down into its different components, and then like Nick cranked out a lot of the code, and then a couple of us then took it from there and tested it and iterated and added things, and then there were even like a good number of decent sized changes from what it looked like at the whiteboard stage. Different ideas we had as the thing developed, and we added on different things like the query data, for example, and then that was like, I don't know, it seemed like it was months of testing, and more testing, and then yeah,
And then it was like, I remember
eventually-
like we were like at some point it was like it's like we had to decide. We could stay tinkering with it for a while. You can test and test and test, but eventually you have to say like, okay, I think this is ready. Like, let's move on. Let's move to the next stage. Like, let's get this thing ready to launch. We got to launch this year. Like, we never like give out like deadlines or whatever, or have a roadmap, but like it was like a big goal of ours to make sure like it was deployed in Q4,
right.
as early as possible in Q4. So
Yeah, that's a good point. It's there's just always, as you're going along, you just always can think of new things that can be improved upon, things you didn't think about before. We had plenty of suggestions from the community, a lot of which are integrated into Tellerx now. But and then now as we're like developing Teller Flex, we're already adding things that we thought of later to add to Tellerx. But yeah, you can just always keep improving things. But eventually you gotta push something out, something that's well tested and that works. But yeah, you can't just keep waiting to get that final perfect product.
yep.
So yeah, and I guess that is a good it's been nice working on Teller Flex now, like being able to add those extra things that are even more improvements. So yeah, we're always just iterating on things and adding.
That's one thing I could say that we've been really consistent with is just that general notion, whether it's development or pretty much anything we do. Just thinking about the Teller's values call last week. Was it last week? Whatever, we did that. One of the things that is a value of ours is just like this iterative mentality and this like get it out in the world as soon as possible, you know, and not just stay in research mode for too long. Just we want to be fast and flexible, and I think that it's exactly what we did. Even though Tellerx did have a longer development timeline than we typically have, but that was because so much other stuff was going on as well, and we were growing as a team, and so like that slows things down a little bit too, but for a greater cause of training everybody and giving everybody opportunity to learn and participate. But yeah, so Tellerx launched, and we've been working with the other things that we did in Q4, where we switched the community over to Discord, and we try to like decentralize the community in a way by creating having a better home for us, so we could have better conversations, more robust conversations, and more organization around that, and also to be more transparent and have you guys be able to interact with us a lot clearer and more readily, and all the good stuff that Discord provides, as opposed to Telegram, which is a much more private thing and just chaotic. And we've seen so much growth in this quarter just from that one decision alone. I think it was one of the biggest things we did last year, and I know it might not occur to you as big as like an integration or whatever, and obviously it's not, but I think it's already paying huge dividends, and we've had several users come in and hop in our Discord, and we're working with these people to integrate with us, and we're hoping to hit 2022 very strongly on the user front. And just a brief one thing that we can't look too far ahead into the future because of just because of the way things are and the way that we are, without looking too far ahead. But we are very excited about the outlook for more user integrations now that we got the two biggest ones off our plates, and just this greater sense of maturity around who we are as a team, as a community, as a Oracle. We're really excited about the first part of 2022. We're excited about ETH Denver again, just to sort of like, now we'll finally get to do it right. We're going to be sending out a large part of the team, and yeah, we're just really excited for that. We're obviously working on Teller Flex, like Tim was hinting at, the next version of Teller, some additional improvements, and we're going to continue to just not stop making Teller better, and as we learn from new users, and as we adjust to the nature of the space. Teller Flex really represents the fact that layer 2s are starting to mature and users are starting to come over there. We used to always say that layer 2s are more of just an announcement thing. There's no users over there, there's no demand. We always said that, and that's like changing, and so we have to adapt as well. So 22 is going to be about being flexible and adaptable, something that we've trained ourselves, and we feel like if we're experts in anything, we're experts in being flexible. So anything else do we want to add on the official review? Ryan, did I miss anything? Did we miss anything? Anybody else want to add anything on the call? I know that I kind of just bulldozed at the end there, but I just was looking at the time and I was just rambling too long. So okay, so Yeah, that was it. Thanks for listening to the review. I think we have some questions you want to run through,
Yeah.
Ryan.
Uh, so
If you don't
start.
mind, but before you get started, I'm gonna switch to my phone. I have to switch to my phone.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so there might be like a. I don't want to. I'm not gonna leave because I don't want to turn this thing off because I'm
You made me
host.
host, right? No.
I made you host, so if I leave, it's gonna be okay. But I'm gonna be just. I'll be careful.
Okay.
All right, I'm here, but I'll be
Okay.
right back.
So the first question is, are you guys in developing products focused on the usability of the TRB token, like a TRB pay, something focused on currency usage? Thanks, heart emoji. So yeah, I mean, essentially, I think this is trying to get some more usage out of the token where, just to iterate here, the token has utility. I think we're just seeing, because our usership base isn't as large as we'd like it to be, the utility isn't really being on the forefront. But as we see this ecosystem grow, we're going to see the utility that's already built into the protocol become more and more used. And we want to keep it that way. It's not, we don't want to add different functions of the token that don't really have anything to do with the Oracle itself, because that just becomes noisy and a distraction. So we'll see that the velocity of the usage of the TRB token increase more with the more usage of Tellor. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that. Any other comments? And there we go. Next one is, what is the timeline for implementing Flashbots? Currently, front runners are making reporting impossible. I don't know. Owen, do you have any insight on that you could share
I
with us?
do. So you can use Flashbots right now. However, it's going to require a bit more setup than regular reporting. Just because the branch I'm working on GitHub, our version control for like all our code, is still under development. I mean, I just got it working successfully, like, not too long ago. I've submitted a few times with the Flashbots, but there's still just some weird setup. Like, for example, you don't submit transactions, you submit a bundle of transactions with Flashbots. And so there will be some more, just in general, there's going to be some more info on this. I encourage everyone to join the Telliot call tomorrow. We can go over a lot of these issues in more depth and whatnot, what things that I've run into. But one thing is, you also need to make a new account. It doesn't have to hold any funds or anything, but they use it. Flashbots relay. The Flashbots organization has this relay, this endpoint that you're using to submit your bundles of transactions that essentially go straight to the miners. They skip the public mempool, right? And so you need this other account that is used as it's like a signatory account, and they use it to establish your reputation with their Flashbots relay. And what's annoying about that is what I've noticed is, it started out when I was testing things out with this, there was, a few people using Flashbots and whatnot. But now it seems like almost every transaction is people using Flashbots. And there's a few of these addresses where, I'm just guessing that their reputation is like pretty high. So even if you get to the point of like, okay, I'm ready to submit with Flashbots, a lot of times your bundle won't be mined. And I'm guessing, I don't concretely know yet, but I'm guessing it's because they have a much higher reputation with the Flashbots relay. And this is just like an issue that I'm sort of like, it's undetermined yet for me, like whether this is a good thing or not, because it's like, I don't know how to get more feedback from the Flashbots relay and like, okay, how do I increase my reputation without like losing a bunch of money? Because right now it's basically like I've had to submit transactions where I lose money just to establish a reputation, and then I can start submitting. Still, like a lot of times, you're submitting and someone beats you with like a lower base fee and a lower tip, it seems like, which is frustrating. But the good thing about this is that you don't lose money for transactions that don't go through. So I will post in the link here in the Zoom chat. This is a link to the branch or the pull request, and there's some instructions on how to set this up if you want to, if you're feeling a little risky. But yeah, it's going to require some more. Like you're going to have to know how to switch, clone a repository from GitHub, switch to a branch. You're going to need to activate a virtual environment, install some dependencies, and then there's some new commands. And right now, the reason that this, the whole Flashbots thing is not in a new release, among other reasons, is it breaks the past reporting command. Like you can't use the legacy transaction type where it's just using gas price. It's using the new type 2 Ethereum transactions from Ethereum improvement proposal like 1559, where you're using like a max priority fee for gas and max fee for gas. So yeah, just hit me up in Discord or a clown if you like run into issues if you're trying to set this up. But yeah, I'm just kind of like hesitant to say go for it because I've had to like submit these negative transactions to establish like a reputation. So like losing like 100 to $200, and then like reporting for, at least for me, I've been like reporting for like 10, around like 10, $15. So then it takes a few times, like a couple days to even like break even realistically. But yeah, go for it. Let me know in Discord if you run into any issues. And yeah, I'm currently working on this. So I don't really know when the rest of the team is getting back to. So I need some more people to test this out before we release this like officially anyway. I have another reporter that I'm testing it on unsuccessfully so far. So anyway, but yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Owen. I'll put the link and I'll put a disclaimer on there that it's still being tested, but the fact that people can, if they want to mess around with it, I'm sure it'll be nice. And then also, what time is that call tomorrow?
Let me look at my calendar. 11 a.m. Eastern time, I believe.
Cool. So yes, if you're interested in being part of that discussion, join that call tomorrow.
Yeah, if you're just like a reporter in general, like
Yeah.
please join because we're gonna go over more than just like Flashbot stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Owen. Let's see. Are you able to run a tutorial on how PyTelly is built, almost like an introductory Tellor University course? Now, I was actually, the first time I read this, I thought it was like they want to see like a documentary on how you guys built PyTelly, but I think it's more just how to become a reporter, which we have some documentation floating around, but I think it might be useful to have a more kind of concise, especially with all the updates that have happened. I think we could probably brush up on what's available out there. Maybe even just do like an official Tellerx school video. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Owen, or.
Yeah, we don't, I thought we had something for setting up reporting, but if they are actually interested in like how it's built and stuff, we can do like a code walkthrough of Telly at core and Telly at feed examples to show the main repositories.
Yeah, maybe we can discuss maybe doing like a kind of high level tech call on it, but I think also I think I'm thinking for myself, I might do like a updated Teller school video.
For sure.
Regardless, a great question. So we'll definitely need to touch on just the available resources on that. We're gonna break it up with what'd you all get for Christmas? Favorite? Anybody got any notable gifts if you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah gifts or any other holiday gifts, really. Anything worth noting on a community call that's going to be out in public on YouTube?
Yeah, I got an amazing reindeer hat from
That's right.
the Secret Santa, someone on the team.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
Dave, it's Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we did a Secret Santa with the whole team, which was a cool little thing to do. We haven't really talked about it much. Tally was my
It's
Secret
secret.
Santa. Well, I don't know. It's secret until it's over, right? Like Tally was my Secret Santa, and I thanked him for he got me a like a big recipe book for grilling with a pellet grill, and I have a pellet grill
Nice.
for anybody that knows what that is.
Nope.
And it's a pretty comprehensive recipe book. It's got everything. So that was cool.
Nick
For
was
me,
mine.
I'll just add that go ahead.
It was Nick was mine, but I just haven't gotten it yet.
That's fine. You'll get sometimes a really late Christmas gift is fun because it keeps the spirit alive.
Nick is the
Just when you
Grinch.
thought you were done.
Right. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, for me this year was it was fun to, and this sounds so corny, but to give gifts, it was fun.
Oh, God.
And I'm particularly like to my son was finally, like, he's 2.5, 2 and 8 months or whatever, but so this is his first Christmas where he, like, kind of understood what the hell Christmas was and
Cognizant.
was excited for, yeah. That's how he talks. He says, "What the hell is Christmas, Dad?" No, I'm just kidding. So that was fun for me. It was like getting him, like, the things he asked Santa for. He wanted 2 airplanes, that kind of
Ooh,
stuff.
wow.
So,
All right. Enough of the fun. We've got some real heavy hitter questions going on here. Shouldn't all liquidity pools and aggregators require a service similar to Tellers in order to accurately lock away tokens and pay out fees in the selected currencies? What do you think their appetite is for using Teller over a centralized data feed? Does anybody have a urge to answer this one? I have my own take on it, but I'm curious.
I mean, yeah, they should. Whether or not they know that they should be using something that's decentralized versus something that's not, it might be a matter of convenience or what they know. There's a sense of how much education is needed in the space for them to know that their project is at risk if they're not using a decentralized Oracle or a truly decentralized Oracle. But then there's also probably a sense of, maybe a bit of complacency too, to say the existing solutions are okay. They check a box and they don't see it as a potential for risk. But time will tell if that pays out or not. Like the Titanic didn't have enough lifeboats, and then hit the iceberg, and it was a terrible disaster. And now we have enough lifeboats for everybody that's on board a boat or a ship or whatever. So I guess that's kind of the risk that projects who are not using it run into or could potentially face.
Titanic, the unsinkable ship.
Yeah.
yeah, that got really morbid, really dark.
Sorry.
That
Merry
was really
Christmas.
good, insight.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that there's a big narrative gray area that I think Teller's been just dealing with since day one, which is what is what does decentralized mean? Is it centralized enough? And I think the appetite is there. It's just a matter of what constitutes decentralization. And the big oracles right now, Uniswap and Chainlink, I think the general narrative right now is that they're good enough. So it's just a matter of changing that narrative, continuing to highlight the actual, the decentralized definitions, and not. I mean, they are great oracles. They've been doing exactly what they have set out to do, but just to that point of what is the appetite there for Tellor, the general discussion right now just isn't really hasn't been had to get down to the nitty gritty of how Tellor differentiates from those two oracles. So focus of 2022 is just kind of really opening up that discussion. I don't know if you guys have listened, but that Chris Black had a really, really awesome discussion with Colton from Liquidity about just the Oracle problem in general and how it's being addressed and how people are kind of painting over their Oracle setups in terms of calling it decentralized. So if you haven't listened, go check that out. I wish Tally was here, but what's Tally's favorite color? Does anybody have any guesses?
Green.
Green. Okay. Nice. That's a safe answer.
I was gonna say it's definitely.
What's the
khaki.
hex code for our logo?
Yeah, no, totally.
Like a tally
It's
teal.
definitely khaki.
We're speaking
Khaki.
for Tally and it's green. So whatever password you're trying to hack, try that one. When aggressive marketing.
I think we're getting pretty aggressive come the new year.
Buy TRB now or else.
No, we have things coming like new content, new events, new sponsorships, things like that. So we're pretty excited about it. Should do some work.
Cool. That's it for the questions. Any final words?
Here's to a great 2022, everyone, and thanks for everybody that was around in 21. Happy New Year.
Indeed. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah. Cheers, everybody.
It's gotta go. Adios.